The night sky over the Xylarian capital shimmered with stars, their light reflecting on the polished towers and floating platforms of the city. Inside the palace, tension was at its peak. Marcus and Queen Lysera had uncovered Emperor Vader's treachery, contained his loyalists, and prepared the palace for the final confrontation. But the most dangerous challenge lay ahead: the Emperor himself. Marcus stood beside the Queen in the observation alcove, his eyes scanning the corridors. Below. He knows something is wrong, Marcus said quietly. Vader will not act openly. He is cunning and he will try to manipulate the palace against us. Lysera nodded, her eyes reflecting determination. Then we must act before he can. Humans have taught me that strategy and courage can outweigh brute strength. Tonight we will prove it. Marcus smiled faintly. Yes, Queen. Humans survive by thinking differently, and tonight we will show that same unpredictability to the Emperor. They moved silently through the palace using hidden corridors and secure observation points. The Loyalist aide had been captured, but Vader still commanded immense influence. Marcus knew that patience and timing would be key. Any mistake could cost them their lives. Finally, they reached the central throne hall, a vast chamber filled with holographic displays, floating lights, and intricate alien architecture. At the far end, Emperor Vader stood, his posture proud and commanding. His eyes, sharp and calculating, focused on the Queen and the human guard. Lysera, Vader said, his voice smooth but filled with malice. You have defied me again. And you brought a human of all creatures to aid you? Marcus stepped forward, his stance steady. Humans survive, Vader, and we protect those who cannot defend themselves alone. That is what I have done tonight. Vader's eyes narrowed. You underestimate me, human. Your cleverness may have delayed my plans, but it cannot stop them. Lysera raised her chin, her voice calm but firm. You misjudge us, Vader. Courage, intelligence, and cooperation. These are forces you cannot control. Marcus had prepared for this moment. The palace systems were subtly modified under his guidance. Reflective signals, hidden locks, and surveillance drones gave them the advantage. Vader believed he held the power, but he could not see the human ingenuity arrayed against him. Your empire relies on fear and obedience, Marcus said. Humans rely on intelligence, adaptability, and courage. You cannot win against that combination. Vader's lips curved into a cold smile. We shall see. Without warning, the Emperor moved toward the Queen, attempting to assert control through intimidation. Marcus reacted instantly, using his agility and strength to place himself between Vader and Lysera. At the same time, Lysera signaled the palace drones. Lights flickered, shadows shifted, and reflective panels flashed strategically, confusing the Emperor's guards. The confrontation became a high-stakes game of movement and strategy. Vader attempted to overwhelm them with brute force, but Marcus and Lysera used the palace itself as a tool. Panels slid to block paths, lights reflected to disorient, and corridors closed automatically, guiding the Emperor into a controlled area. Marcus ducked a strike from Vader's energy staff and kicked a loose panel, creating a temporary barrier. Lysera moved with precision, positioning herself to intercept any aggressive moves. Together, human ingenuity and alien royalty worked as a seamless team. Vader realized he had underestimated them. Impossible, he shouted. You are only a human. You cannot match my training, Marcus responded calmly. Humans survive because we think differently. We adapt, and we act when others hesitate. The Emperor lunged, but the palace systems, under Marcus's control, trapped him in a chamber reinforced with automated locks. The doors closed behind him, and his guards were contained using non-lethal restraint fields. Vader's plan had unraveled, his control stripped away by the unpredictability and strategy of human-alien teamwork. Lysera stepped forward, her presence commanding authority. Vader, she said firmly, your betrayal ends tonight. You sought to kill me to control the Empire through fear. That will no longer succeed. Vader's expression hardened. He realized that the human guard and the Queen had outsmarted him. His power had relied on secrecy, manipulation, and fear, but those tools were ineffective against the combination of courage, intelligence, and cooperation. Marcus added, "Empires last not because of fear, but because of trust, strategy, and the willingness to act for what is right. Humans have shown that tonight. The Emperor was defeated, not by brute force but by the clever use of environment, timing, and coordinated action. The Loyalist aid was already contained, and the palace was secured. Vator could no longer threaten the Queen or the stability of the Empire." Lysera looked at Marcus with deep admiration. "You have proven that humans are more than allies. They are a force for survival and justice. Your species has shown me the power of ingenuity and courage." Marcus shook his head. "We do what we must to survive, and we protect those who cannot defend themselves alone. That is our strength." The palace staff, once fearful of conflict, now looked upon Marcus and Lysera with awe. Humans, once rare and underestimated, had demonstrated that their intelligence, adaptability, and bravery could influence the course of an empire. In the following hours, Lysera reorganized the palace. Loyalists were reassigned, palace systems were strengthened, and humans were given positions of trust and respect. Marcus's presence was no longer a curiosity. He was a symbol of what humans could achieve. The Queen addressed her council, her voice clear and commanding. "Tonight, we have learned a vital lesson. Strength is not measured only by force. Strategy, courage, and cooperation are what protect an empire. Humans have shown us that." Marcus stood silently at her side, proud yet modest. Humans were often underestimated, but their contributions were undeniable. Tonight they had survived, protected, and transformed a palace threatened by treachery. In the quiet after the confrontation, Lysera and Marcus stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The first light of dawn painted the towers in gold and violet. House. The empire was safe, the Queen was alive, and the value of human ingenuity was clear for all to see. Lysera spoke softly. "Marcus, your presence changed everything. Humans are rare in this galaxy, but your actions prove they are vital. Your species has a role here, bigger than I ever imagined." Marcus smiled faintly. "Humans survive, adapt, and protect. And when we do, we inspire hope. That is all I ever wanted to do." The Queen nodded, watching the horizon. "Then together, humans and Xylarians will face the future. No betrayal, no treachery, no challenge will overwhelm us. We will survive, and we will thrive." Marcus felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Humans had been underestimated, yet they had saved a queen, outsmarted an emperor, and shown the galaxy the power of courage, intelligence, and adaptability. He realized that survival was not just about strength, it was about creativity, cooperation, and the willingness to act when others hesitated. The city below began to awaken, unaware of the peril that had unfolded in the palace during the night. Marcus and Lysera stood together, looking toward a future full of possibilities. Humans had proven themselves, and the Xylarian Empire had learned that courage and ingenuity were forces to be reckoned with. As dawn broke fully, Marcus knew one truth. Humans were more than capable of surviving and thriving in a galaxy that often underestimated them, and with allies like Queen Lysera, they could shape the future, protect the innocent, and face any challenge. The night of danger was over. The Queen was safe, the Emperor defeated, and the palace stood secure. But the story of human courage and ingenuity would echo throughout the Empire, a reminder that even the most unlikely heroes could change the course of history. Marcus looked at Lysera one last time. "We did it. Together." Lysera smiled, hope shining in her eyes. "Yes, Marcus. Together, we are unstoppable." And so, in the heart of the Xylarian Empire, humans had proven their worth. Not through brute force, not through fear, but through intelligence, courage, and the timeless ability to adapt and survive. A new era had begun, a future where humans and aliens working together could overcome any threat. The Empire was safe, Humanity had triumphed, and the story of their bravery would be remembered for generations to come. Marcus stood in the quiet corridor of the Xylarian palace, his human heart beating faster than usual. The grand halls of the palace were filled with lights that shimmered like liquid metal, and walls that seemed alive, pulsating with a soft, rhythmic glow. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy, and Marcus knew that his presence was a curiosity and a threat to many of the alien nobles. But he was a guard, not just any guard. He had been chosen for his intuition, for his ability to think differently, and most of all, for his courage. Tonight, however, courage was not enough. Marcus had overheard something that chilled him to the bone. While on routine patrol near the royal chambers, he had accidentally intercepted a private conversation between two high-ranking palace officials. Their whispers were sharp, urgent, and full of malice. Marcus had hidden behind a column, listening carefully as the words formed a terrifying truth. "The Queen will not see dawn," one voice said. Marcus's blood ran cold. He recognized the voice. It belonged to a close aide of Emperor Vator, the Queen's husband. "The gala," the aide continued, "that is when it will happen. The chamber, she will not survive." Marcus's hand clenched into a fist. He had trained for countless dangers, from alien predators to rogue spacecraft attacks, but this was different. This was inside the palace, inside the heart of the Empire, and it involved the Queen herself. Queen Lysra was beloved. Her image adorned holographic banners across the capital. Her speeches about peace and cooperation with neighboring star systems were legendary. If she were killed, it would not only shatter the palace but also destabilize the entire Xylarian Empire. Marcus knew he had to act, and quickly. He moved cautiously, stepping over the reflective floors that seemed to mirror every movement. Every step had to be silent, every gesture calculated. Even the simplest sound could alert the palace security systems, which were designed to detect intruders, even if those intruders were human. As he navigated the twisting corridors, Marcus recalled everything he knew about Queen Lysra's habits. She usually spent the first hour after the gala in her private chamber, resting and reviewing reports. The chamber was heavily guarded, yet tonight, the palace was distracted by the gala, which meant that the assassin could strike with fewer obstacles. Marcus's mind raced. How could a single human prevent a queen's assassination in an alien palace filled with thousands of eyes and ears? He rounded a corner and nearly collided with a hovering drone, its spherical body scanning the corridor. Marcus froze, holding his breath. The drone's red eye swiveled slowly. For a tense moment, it seemed like it might detect him. Then, as if satisfied, it drifted past. Marcus exhaled quietly, his body sagging with relief. One small victory, but many more challenges awaited. Finally, he reached a side passage that led closer to the Queen's chambers. Here, the architecture changed. The walls were smoother, more organic, as if grown rather than built. Vines of bioluminescent flora climbed the walls, bathing the corridor in a soft green light. Marcus paused, listening. No sounds. Only the faint hum of palace energy conduits. It was here that he made a critical decision. He could not simply warn the Queen outside the palace. The risk was too high. He needed to find her within the palace, in a way that would not alert Vader or the assassin. But how? Marcus recalled a maintenance tunnel map he had memorized weeks ago. It led directly near the Queen's chambers, bypassing most surveillance. Not perfect, but it was his only chance. Crawling through the narrow tunnel, Marcus's mind raced with possibilities. Could he convince the Queen in time? Could they stop the assassin without causing chaos in the palace? The human mind was different from the alien mind, sometimes creative, sometimes unpredictable. And that unpredictability, Marcus realized, might be exactly what they needed. Finally, he emerged near a service entrance to the Queen's quarters. He paused, scanning the area. There were two guards, Xylarian warriors with translucent skin and multi-jointed arms. They chatted quietly, unaware of the human lurking in the shadows. Marcus assessed the situation. There was no way he could get past them quietly. He would have to act. Taking a deep breath, Marcus stepped into the open. "Queen Lysra," he called, his voice calm but firm. The guards turned immediately, their eyes glowing. "Halt! Identify yourself," one demanded. Marcus raised his hands to show he meant no harm. "I am a human guard," Marcus said. "I have urgent information. It concerns your safety." The guards hesitated. Humans were rare and their abilities often underestimated. After a tense moment, they stepped aside, sensing the urgency in Marcus's tone. The queen emerged from her chamber then, her presence commanding attention even in the dim light. She was tall, with eyes that reflected both wisdom and curiosity. "What is it, human?" she asked, her voice steady but tinged with concern. Marcus did not waste a second. "Your husband, Emperor Vader, intends to kill you tonight," he said, keeping his words clear and precise. "There is an assassin waiting in your chamber during the gala. You must not enter until we are certain it is safe." Lysra's eyes widened, but she did not panic. Instead, she studied Marcus carefully. "How do I know you speak the truth?" she asked. "Humans are clever, but palace politics are more complex than your species might understand." "I overheard the plan," Marcus replied. "I know it is dangerous to trust me, but I would not risk my life if it were not real. Please, Queen, you must listen." She considered him for a long moment, then nodded. "Very well. Lead me away from this area, quietly." Marcus guided her through a maze of service corridors, avoiding guards and surveillance drones. Every step was tense, every shadow potentially hiding danger. The queen's calm and composed demeanor impressed Marcus. Despite the imminent threat, she did not panic. Her leadership was evident even in this private, life-threatening moment. As they moved, Marcus explained what he had learned about the plot. The assassin was highly trained, possibly an elite operative loyal only to Vader. The plan was precise. During the gala, the queen would retire to her chamber, where the assassin would strike. Marcus had no information about the assassin's methods, only that the risk was immediate and deadly. Lysra absorbed every word. "We cannot confront him directly," she said. "If he is loyal to Vader, there is no way we can fight him openly, without endangering the palace." Marcus nodded. "Then we must be clever. We will use the palace itself, its corridors, its security, its unpredictability to our advantage." The queen smiled faintly, a spark of admiration in her eyes. "Humans are strange," she said. "But perhaps that strangeness is why you survive, when others fail." Marcus allowed himself a small, silent smile. His species had survived against odds that other civilizations deemed impossible. Perhaps he thought this was another example of why humans were uniquely valuable, even in an empire far from Earth. Together, they reached a hidden observation room overlooking the gala hall. From here, they could see the guests, the alien, nobles in their intricate robes, the floating lights, and the music that echoed like crystal wind. Marcus and Lysra crouched behind a translucent barrier, planning their next move. "This is where we wait," Marcus whispered. "From here, we can see the assassin without being seen. When the time comes, I will intercept him. But you must not enter your chamber until I give the signal." Lysra nodded, placing her trust in this human who had already risked everything to warn her. The tension in the room was thick, a mix of fear, anticipation, and determination. Marcus felt it too. Every second counted. Every decision mattered. Outside, the gala continued, unaware of the danger that lurked just steps away from the queen. Marcus clenched his fists, ready to do whatever it took. Humans were unpredictable, clever, and brave. And tonight, he intended to prove it. In the palace of the Xylarian Empire, one human guard held the fate of a queen, and perhaps the balance of an entire empire, in his hands. Marcus and Queen Lysra crouched silently behind the translucent barrier, their eyes fixed on the gala below. The grand hall was alive with color and movement. Xylarian nobles floated gracefully above the floor, their multi-jointed limbs moving, in elegant patterns. Music swirled through the air like liquid crystal. Yet above all the glamour, a dangerous shadow loomed. The assassin, loyal to Emperor Vader, could strike at any moment. Marcus whispered, "We cannot confront him directly. We need a plan, one that uses the palace itself." Lysera nodded, her sharp mind already racing. "If we cannot fight him openly, we must make him think he can. Then we will turn his plan against him." Marcus smiled faintly. Humans often solved problems differently. Quick thinking, improvisation, using tools and surroundings in ways others would never imagine. That was what he relied on, and it might just save her life. He gestured toward a maintenance corridor that ran along the side of the gala hall. "We can use that corridor to move behind the chamber without being seen. There are service elevators and hidden tunnels. I've studied the palace layout carefully. If we move quickly, we can reach the chamber safely, or at least close enough to intercept the assassin before he acts." Lysera's eyes narrowed. "And what if we are discovered?" Marcus shook his head. "Then we improvise. We humans are good at improvisation." He paused, realizing how strange it must sound to an alien monarch. "It means thinking quickly, using everything around us and turning the unexpected into an advantage." The Queen gave a small smile. "Then let us see what your species can do, Marcus." Careful not to draw attention, they left their hiding place and slipped into the maintenance corridor. The air here was cooler and smelled faintly of metal and ozone. Pipes and cables ran along the ceiling, and the walls were smooth, almost organic, with soft glowing veins pulsing like tiny rivers of light. "Stay close," Marcus whispered. "One wrong step and we could trigger alarms or alert a guard. If that happens, the assassin could get the upper hand." Lysera followed, moving silently despite the unfamiliar terrain. Humans often underestimated how agile she was. Her movements were deliberate, precise, and careful, a skill that Marcus realized would be crucial in the coming hours. They reached a junction where multiple service corridors intersected. Marcus pointed to a small door marked with a symbol that looked like a spiral galaxy. "This leads to an observation alcove near your chamber. From there we can monitor any movement. The assassin will likely be close to the chamber entrance when the gala ends. If we wait, we can strike at the right moment." Lysera studied the door. "Observation will give us advantage, but we must prepare for immediate action. Do you have weapons?" Marcus shook his head. "Nothing lethal. We cannot afford to kill anyone openly in the palace. It would cause chaos. But I can improvise. Tools and traps if necessary." Lysera raised an eyebrow. "Traps?" "Yes," Marcus said confidently. "We can use simple items, security protocols, light reflectors, even the palace's own automated systems. We turn them into obstacles. For the assassin, he won't expect it." The Queen nodded, impressed. Humans were unpredictable indeed. Sometimes, she thought, unpredictability was exactly what a palace needed to survive in times of treachery. As they moved, Marcus noticed 2 guards approaching from the far end of the corridor. He pressed Lysera against the wall, holding his breath. The guards were deep in conversation and did not notice them. Marcus counted the steps. 3 more and the guards would see them. He grabbed a small panel from the wall, revealing a set of exposed circuits. With nimble fingers, he tapped a few wires and whispered commands to the palace's automated drones. Moments later, a nearby floor drone shifted slightly, its red eye blinking like a warning. The guards noticed and turned, confused. "Go," Marcus whispered. Lysera followed, and they slipped past the distracted guards unnoticed. They reached the observation alcove, a small platform overlooking the hallway leading to the Queen's chamber. From here they could see the servants clearing the gala hall, the nobles drifting back to private quarters, and the glimmer of the palaces, floating lights reflecting off polished floors. Marcus pointed to a darkened corner near the chamber entrance. "That is where the assassin will wait. Notice the shadowed recess? That is his staging point. He will strike when you enter your chamber, assuming no one is watching." Lysera's expression hardened. "Then we must force him to act prematurely, or catch him before he can strike." Marcus nodded. Exactly. Humans are clever at misdirection. We create a situation that makes the assassin think the coast is clear, then act at the perfect moment. He began assembling a makeshift signal system using reflective panels and the alcove's lights. Tiny flashes of light could communicate between them silently. He explained the system to Lysera, who caught on quickly. Even a queen could learn human ingenuity when survival depended on it. Hours passed as they monitored the corridors, waiting for the gala to wind down. Each step was tense. Every shadow could hide danger. Marcus and Lysera spoke little, but the silence was filled with strategy and mutual respect. Then a faint movement caught Marcus's eye. In the corner of the hallway, the shadow shifted slightly. A figure was moving, slowly, carefully, precisely. "The assassin," Marcus whispered. Lysera nodded. They watched as the figure crept closer to the chamber. Marcus checked his improvised traps. Everything was ready. He whispered instructions to Lysera. She would remain hidden until the perfect moment. Then, with a single signal, they would act. Minutes felt like hours. The assassin moved steadily, unaware of the human and the queen observing from above. Marcus's pulse raced. Every instinct screamed at him to act, but timing was everything. Finally, the assassin reached the chamber door. Marcus signaled Lysera, and she prepared to move. Suddenly, one of the palace drones shifted its patrol path unexpectedly. The assassin froze, scanning the corridor. Marcus knew this was the human moment, the unexpected, the unpredictable. He tapped a hidden panel, sending a low-frequency pulse that caused the door near the assassin to vibrate slightly. Startled, the assassin hesitated. That was enough. Marcus grabbed a small rod from his belt. Nothing lethal, but perfect for creating a loud distraction. He dropped it to the floor and it clanged against the wall. The sound echoed. The assassin's head snapped toward the noise. In that split second, Marcus triggered the reflective signal. Lysera, hidden but ready, moved with precision, blocking the assassin's path. The trap worked perfectly. The assassin stumbled, giving Marcus just enough time to rush forward. With human speed and agility, he intercepted the attacker, pushing him into a side corridor. The palace alarm remained silent. No one knew, except them. Lysera emerged from her hiding spot, her presence calm and commanding. She watched Marcus as he managed the situation. "Your species is indeed clever," she said quietly, her eyes reflecting admiration and relief. Marcus allowed himself a small smile. "Clever, yes, but teamwork is stronger. We worked together. That is why we survived." The queen nodded, understanding the deeper meaning. Humans were not just brave, they were adaptable, creative, and capable of thinking differently from the rigid systems of the Xylarian court. That combination might just save not only her life, but the stability of the entire empire. As the night progressed, they planned their next moves. The assassin was now disoriented, unsure of who was watching and who was acting. Marcus and Lysera used this to their advantage. They would continue monitoring, waiting for the perfect opportunity to secure her chamber and neutralize the threat completely. Hours passed. The gala ended. Nobles retired to their quarters. The palace grew quiet, but danger still lurked. Marcus and Lysera moved with calculated caution, their partnership solidified by trust and the shared knowledge that the survival of a queen, and perhaps an entire empire, depended on their combined ingenuity. Marcus whispered, "The next step is decisive. We must ensure the assassin cannot strike again. Then we can confront Vator's plan at its source." Lysera nodded. "Then we act, human. Show me the full measure of your species." Together, they disappeared into the palace corridors. Two unlikely allies, ready to turn the tables on a conspiracy that threatened everything they valued. The human guard had proven his worth not through strength alone, but through ingenuity, courage, and the ability to act unpredictably, a reminder that even in a galaxy ruled by alien logic, humanity could shine brightly. In the shadows of the Xylarian palace, the first step of the escape plan had succeeded. But the real challenge, the confrontation with the assassin and the Emperor, was still ahead. Marcus and Lysera prepared for what would come next, knowing that the night was far from over. Marcus and Queen Lysera moved cautiously through the quiet corridors of the Xylarian palace. The gala had ended, and most of the nobles had retired to their private quarters. Yet the palace, despite its silence, felt alive with danger. Every shadow, every corner could hide the assassin who had been waiting for the queen. Marcus led the way, his eyes scanning the dimly lit hallways. His senses were alert, trained to detect the smallest movement or sound. He had spent weeks studying the palace, learning its twists and hidden passages. Every decision tonight relied on that knowledge and on his human intuition. Lysera followed, closely, her movements deliberate and graceful. She trusted Marcus, but she remained aware of the stakes. Her life, and the safety of her empire, hung in the balance. As they neared her chamber, Marcus signaled her to stop. Ahead, the shadowed recess that he had identified earlier loomed in darkness. The assassin had returned, likely realizing that the first attempt had failed. Marcus's instincts told him that the attacker was cautious but highly skilled, capable of moving without sound and striking with precision. "We must be ready," Marcus whispered. "He will not make the same mistake twice." Lysera nodded. "And if we are discovered?" Marcus smiled faintly. "Then we improvise. Humans are good at turning surprises into advantages." They positioned themselves in the alcove overlooking the corridor. Marcus checked the reflective signal system he had prepared earlier, making sure Lysera understood each signal. Every flash of light could communicate instructions silently, coordinating their movements without alerting the assassin. Minutes passed. Then, a faint movement caught Marcus's eye. The assassin stepped out from the shadows, gliding silently toward the chamber. Marcus's pulse quickened. This was the moment they had been preparing for. He tapped a reflective panel, sending a tiny flash to Lysera. She moved instantly, using her agility to position herself behind the assassin without being seen. Marcus took a deep breath and activated the next part of his plan. He dropped a small metallic cylinder onto the floor near the assassin. It rolled forward, making a soft metallic sound. The assassin froze, scanning the corridor, and Marcus knew he had the opening he needed. Quick as lightning, Marcus moved down the corridor. Using the element of surprise, he pushed the assassin toward a side passage. The assassin stumbled, but regained balance immediately, revealing that he was indeed highly trained. He lunged back, trying to strike Marcus, but Marcus anticipated the move and dodged with human reflexes. Lysera joined, stepping out from her hiding spot. Together she and Marcus formed a barrier between the assassin and her chamber. The Queen's calm authority and Marcus's human unpredictability created a force the assassin had not expected. The corridor became a stage for a tense game of cat and mouse. Marcus used the palace itself as a tool, kicking over panels and creating obstacles. Lights shifted, reflecting off the walls in a way that confused the assassin. Lysera moved with precision, cutting off escape routes and guiding Marcus. The assassin, despite his skill, began to falter. Marcus could see the tension in his movements. Humans, he knew, were unpredictable, and this unpredictability was working in their favor. The assassin lunged again, and Marcus sidestepped, grabbing a loose panel from the wall. With a swift motion, he sent it sliding toward the attacker, forcing him to retreat. Lysera's voice cut through the tension. "Now, Marcus!" she shouted. Together, they trapped the assassin in a small corridor. Marcus stepped forward, using his strength and quick thinking to block any attempt to flee. The Queen remained poised, her presence commanding respect even from an enemy. "You underestimated us," Marcus said quietly. "Humans think differently. We adapt. We survive." The assassin growled, realizing his plan had failed. Marcus and Lysera had turned his strategy against him. He lunged one last time. But Lysera stepped forward, using a simple but effective maneuver to push him into a corner. Marcus blocked his only escape route, and the assassin froze, caught between human and alien ingenuity. Marcus activated a hidden lock on the corridor door, securing the assassin without causing harm. The Xylarian palace systems, recognizing the lock signal, silently contained the intruder. Marcus and Lysra exchanged a glance. They had survived the confrontation. Breathing heavily, Marcus turned to Lysra. He won't get another chance. The palace now protects you, and the assassin cannot move without triggering alarms. Lysra nodded, impressed. Your species is truly remarkable, Marcus. You did not rely on force alone. You used intelligence, creativity, and timing. You saved my life. Marcus smiled faintly. We saved your life together. Humans are brave, yes, but cooperation is just as important. They paused for a moment, taking in the gravity of what had just occurred. The palace, which had seemed like a maze of threats and shadows, now felt more like an ally. Every corridor, every hidden panel, every reflective surface had been used to their advantage. Marcus's human perspective had turned the environment into a tool for survival. Lysra looked at him thoughtfully. Vader will not give up easily. This confrontation was only the beginning. But with humans like you, I have hope. Marcus nodded. We will face whatever comes next together. Humans do not give up, and neither should you. For a moment, the tension lifted. They moved through the corridors, checking the chamber and ensuring it was secure. The assassin remained contained, unable to interfere further. Marcus examined the lock mechanisms, impressed with how easily he had adapted the palace's technology to their advantage. Lysra walked beside him, her calm presence a reminder of why she was queen. She had trusted a human, acted with precision, and survived a deadly plot, all without panic. Marcus realized that her leadership, combined with human ingenuity, made them an almost unstoppable team. Hours passed as they secured the palace and prepared for the next phase of action. Marcus knew that the true threat, the Emperor himself, was still looming. But the immediate danger had been neutralized. The Queen's chamber was safe, the assassin was contained, and the palace had become a tool for their strategy. Lysra turned to Marcus, her eyes reflecting determination. The confrontation with the assassin is over, but Vader's plan runs deeper. We must be ready for him. Marcus nodded. And we will be. Humans survive against impossible odds. Tonight proves that. Tomorrow we confront the source. They spent the rest of the night preparing, reinforcing security, and planning their next moves. Every corridor, every passage, every hidden corner of the palace was considered. Marcus taught Lysra how to use the reflective signals, the hidden locks, and the palace systems to their advantage. By the time dawn approached, they were ready for whatever came next. As they stood overlooking the city from a high balcony, Marcus felt a sense of pride. Humans were often underestimated in the galaxy, but tonight, they had proven their value. Their ability to adapt, improvise, and think differently had saved a queen. Lysra's voice broke his thoughts. You have changed my perspective, Marcus. Humans are more than allies. You are a symbol of hope for my people. Marcus smiled, feeling the weight of the moment. And your people are lucky to have a queen like you. Together, we can face anything. The sun began to rise over the Xylarian capital, casting golden light over the alien city. Marcus and Lysra knew that the next confrontation, with Emperor Vader himself, would be far more dangerous. But they also knew that with courage, intelligence, and cooperation, even the most impossible odds could be overcome. In the shadows of the palace, the first battle had been won. But the war for the Queen's survival and for the future of the Empire was only beginning. Marcus and Lysra were ready, their partnership stronger than ever, prepared to face whatever challenges awaited. The palace was quiet after the night's confrontation, but the danger was far from over. Marcus and Queen Lysra had contained the assassin, secured the Queen's chamber, and protected the immediate corridors. Yet an invisible threat remained. Emperor Traitor himself, whose mind was as sharp as it was ruthless. Marcus paced the observation alcove, his eyes scanning the palace systems he had begun to understand. Even the smallest movement, every whisper in the corridors, every flicker of light, could signal Vader's next plan. Humans had survived countless dangers on Earth, and Marcus knew that survival depended not just on strength, but on understanding the mind of the opponent. Lysera approached, her expression serious but calm. Marcus, the assassin, was only a small part of his plan. Vader wants more than just my death. He wants control over everything, the Empire, the councils, the people. He believes that fear will secure his power. Marcus nodded. That's why humans are valuable. We can think differently. We don't follow the usual rules, and that can give you an advantage he doesn't expect. Lysera studied him. Your species survives against impossible odds, does it not? Marcus smiled faintly. Yes. Humans adapt, humans improvise, and humans never give up. That's why I am here, Queen, and that's why we will survive whatever Vader plans next. The Queen and the human guard moved to a secure communications hub deep within the palace. Here, Marcus could access encrypted reports, security feeds, and intelligence gathered by loyal palace aides. Lysera watched closely, absorbing the methods Marcus used to analyze information. He pointed to a holographic map of the palace. Look here, the assassin had access to hidden passages and private corridors. That means someone inside the palace helped him, and if someone inside is loyal to Vader, there could be more traps waiting. Lysera's eyes narrowed. Then, we must root out the loyalists, but we must be careful. Vader is clever. He will anticipate suspicion and use it to divide his enemies. Marcus tapped a series of controls, highlighting potential vulnerabilities. Humans rely on patterns, but we also notice what doesn't fit the pattern. That's how we find hidden threats. Someone in the palace is acting differently from the rest, and that is our clue. They began their investigation, scanning palace records, reviewing guard rotations, and cross-referencing schedules. Marcus noticed something peculiar. One of the Emperor's aides, normally meticulous, had irregular movements during the gala. There, Marcus said. He was near the chamber at times when he shouldn't have been. Someone allowed the assassin access. Lysera studied the data. A loyalist inside the palace, then. That explains how the plot unfolded so precisely. Vader has spies everywhere. But now we know one of his pieces and we can act. Marcus nodded. Humans think ahead. We consider multiple outcomes. We don't just react, we anticipate. That's what we'll do next. For the next several hours, Marcus and Lysera devised a plan. The loyalist aide would be monitored, but not immediately confronted. They needed proof, and a misstep could alert Vader. Marcus's human instincts guided the strategy, balancing caution with decisive action. While working, Lysera reflected on the human qualities that had saved her life. Marcus's courage, intelligence, and creativity had made the difference. The assassin had been skilled, but humans were unpredictable, and that unpredictability had been their advantage. Finally, evidence was gathered. The loyalist aide had provided information to the Emperor, coordinated timing for the assassin, and even prepared emergency exits in the event of failure. Marcus had documented every detail, creating a record that would be irrefutable. Lysera turned to Marcus. You have done more than save my life. You have uncovered the source of the threat. With this, we can confront Vader and the Loyalists and show them that humans are not to be underestimated. Marcus smiled faintly. Humans survive, and humans also protect those who cannot defend themselves alone. That's why we do what we do. With the immediate threat identified, Lysera and Marcus planned the next steps carefully. The Loyalist aide would be detained discreetly, and the palace security would be reinforced without alerting Vader. Marcus suggested using palace drones to subtly monitor the aide's movements, while Lysera coordinated Loyalist nobles to be ready in case of emergency. Hours later, as the sun rose over the alien city, the Loyalist was captured. The process was precise, clean, and efficient. Marcus's human problem-solving ensured there were no unnecessary confrontations, no panic among the palace staff. The Loyalist could not act further without immediate detection, and the palace was safer. Lysera watched the scene unfold, her respect for humans deepening. Your species has a way of turning chaos into order, Marcus. That is why I trust you. Marcus shook his head. We trust each other. That is why this works. Trust and cooperation are stronger than fear. With the loyalist contained, attention turned to Vader. His plan had failed once, but the Emperor was cunning. Lysira and Marcus knew that the confrontation with him would require not only strategy, but courage, intelligence, and the unpredictable ingenuity of a human mind. Marcus studied the palace map once again. Vader's power depends on intimidation, secrecy, and control. If we make him think he has the advantage, we can draw him out. Then, with careful planning, we can turn his own strategy against him. Lysira nodded. We will need more than strength. We need intelligence, precision, and the ability to act where he does not expect. Humans have shown me that possibility. The day passed in preparation. Marcus trained palace aides to use the reflective signaling system, to operate hidden locks, and to coordinate movements silently. Lysira reinforced loyalist support and coordinated security measures across the palace. Together they transformed the palace from a vulnerable target into a defensive network, capable of detecting threats before they could act. By evening, Marcus and Lysira were ready. The loyalist aide had been interrogated discreetly, palace systems were monitored, and every exit had been secured. Yet the real test awaited, confronting Emperor Vader directly, exposing his motives and ensuring the Queen's safety while maintaining control of the Empire. Lysira approached Marcus in the observation alcove. The revelation of Vader's plan changes everything, but it also gives us advantage. He believes we are weak, distracted, and divided. That belief will be his undoing. Marcus nodded. Humans survive impossible odds by turning disadvantage into advantage. That is what we will do. The Queen looked at him, her expression resolute. And I will follow your strategy, Marcus. Together we will show that even in a galaxy ruled by alien logic, humans and their ingenuity can change the course of events. Marcus smiled faintly. That is why humans exist, Queen. To survive, adapt, and protect what is right. As night fell over the Xylarian palace, the stage was set for the final confrontation. The revelation of Vader's motives had shifted the balance. Marcus and Lysira had uncovered the Emperor's secrets, secured the palace, and prepared loyalists. Yet the challenge ahead would test their courage, strategy, and trust. Marcus felt a sense of calm determination. Humans were unpredictable, capable of adaptation and brilliance in the most dangerous situations, and tonight, human ingenuity would face the greatest test yet. Lysira stood beside him, watching the palace glow under the night sky. Tomorrow, Marcus, we end this, she said quietly. Marcus nodded. Yes, Queen. Tomorrow we prove that humans and their allies can overcome even the most cunning of foes. In the shadows of the palace, the final act was approaching. Vader's plan had been revealed, his loyalists contained, and the Queen prepared to reclaim control. With human ingenuity at her side, Lysira was no longer just a ruler. She was a symbol of hope, strength, and the unpredictable power of humanity. The revelation had changed everything. And tomorrow, the consequences of that revelation would determine the fate of the Xylarian Empire.